Hi guys, welcome back to Sensi Fishing. I'm John. Today we're going to cover line. In particular, I'm going to teach you or explain to you a few of the tricks that I do that saves you money, and it also will save you some time. A lot of times when I'm pulling up a reel, I don't necessarily use the high dollar line throughout the entire spool. There's a question that came up recently, and a guy was asking me how I can afford to spend $25 on a spool of line, $20 on a spool of line, fill my entire spool without breaking a bank. So one of the things I like to do is go out to like a Walmart or someplace of that nature and buy a cheap line. This one happens to be Zebco's Omniflex. This is an 8-pound, doesn't matter. I use the 8-pound on some of the bait casters. I'll even drop down to 4 or 6 pound on some of the spinning reels or light lines that I'm as my main line. So anyway, I use a backing on everything. It's not just for braid. I'll tie not necessarily your main line, but I'll tie on like I'll start out with, we'll say, the Zebco line on the backing. Fill up what I think is about 100 to 150 yards short of a full spool. Say for example, I spooled up a bait caster here with the 8-pound Zebco line. Then I come behind it. In this case, we'll use a braid. This one happens to be 65-pound Power Pro. I'll run about 100 to 150 yards, somewhere in that ballpark of braid. This one comes at 150 yard spool. Sometimes on the smaller size reels, I'll spool up 75 yards, so I get 2 reels out of this particular single spool. Cost is a little bit higher. Save yourself some money. Use a cheap backing. Braid is always helpful to use, like a mono backing, but I'll use it a fluorocarbon. I'll also use it for a better priced mono. I also use it for my copolymer, like for example the Yo-Zuri Hybrid. Expensive line, but again, you put a backing on it. This is great line. You get 1,000 yards on this spool, so I can reel or spool up quite a few reels with that backing on this one. The backing doesn't need change quite as often. Let's face it, you spool up about 100 yards, the length of a football field. You're not going to really need that much line at any given time to get down to that knot. If I know that I'm fishing in shallow water conditions or I don't need that much line, I'll just tie a simple knot. Other than that, a lot of times I tie either a blood knot or a double uni. Most of the time it's a double uni. Gives you a great small profile. Once you cinch that up, it goes right through the guides, no problem, if you get down to that point. Also, the other thing that I'll do, a lot of times I do throw straight braid on a lot of bait casters, some of the spinning reels. I'll use braid to leader using the same knot, usually a double uni. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there to show you these types of knots. I won't go over them. The best knot that when I tie straight braid, in my opinion, is the Palomar knot. Some of the others, regular mono, I use the old school trilene knot. But there's tons of knots out there. If you need information on how to tie a knot, this is not what that's covering. The other thing that I like to do, and I've just recently started getting back into it, is using a line conditioner. This one happens to be Real Snot. So far, this is the first time I've bought Real Snot and used it, but I'm really liking it. Great on mono to reduce that memory or lose the memory 100% of the way. They say it adds distance. So far I haven't really noticed too much of a difference, but I also keep my reel adjusted to where I almost have no braking on it. full tensioner, I get it back so I got just enough flex in it. So I'm already getting a lot of distance out of the way anyway. I've been using a bait caster now for about 40 years. So I've gotten a hang of them. I thumb them, and I keep pretty much a backlash out every time I cast. Sometimes in the wind or try to throw a lighter lure, I still get that backlash. But anyway, back to reel snot. They say it adds distance. It definitely does improve the overall condition of the line. It gets rid of that memory. One of the things that you could do as well with that on line, if you have a lot of memory in your mono, is stretch that memory or stretch that line to reduce that memory. Great thing too, guys, when you're spooling line, if you do have some old reels that are spooled with straight braid, one of the things that I do, once some of that braid on the end that I've been fishing with has started to wear out, is I'll save the old spool, I'll spool that line back on, and then re-spool it the opposite direction back onto the reel, meaning that I will get the end that hasn't been used. So far I've been getting at least 3 seasons out of my line before it's really going bad by doing that. Using a good line conditioner, taking care of your line. Don't leave your reels out in the sun. If your reels are out in the sun, or you're fishing a lot of cover, a lot of rock, a lot of laydowns and stuff, you will get your line frayed up. Obviously you're going to have to change out your line more often. But again, if you're using braid, a high dollar braid, and you throw on some cheap Zebco line in the backing, even if you have to change your line out twice this season, you can get, if you put 75 yards on out of 150, you can get 2 spools out of that. Saves you a lot of money. Some of the different types of line that I like to use, I do like a copolymer. I do like the Yo-Zuri. It's a copolymer, fluorocarbon. It does have great abrasion resistance. In my opinion, it has been casting great. It's been doing great. Not any problems out of that. I do use Power Pro braid. I will use Suffix from time to time. Power Pro is pretty much my go-to. Great line. I'll use that from anywhere from a 10-pound braid all the way up to about 65, 80-pound braid. Most of it's 65-pound braid. I'll use that in a lot of places where I know I've got a lot of hang-ups, a lot of snags. I fish a lot below the dams, and there's a lot of rocky areas. So even when I'm out crappie fishing, bluegill fishing, a lot of times I know if I'm throwing in around where all those thick rocks are, I will use not 65-pound braid, obviously. I've got 8-pound braid, 10-pound braid. I'll tie that on, and then tie on like an 8-pound or 6-pound either fluoro or mono leader to the front of that. But that's about all I got online. There's tons of information out there too. Just a quick little video to tell you how you can save money by buying that cheap Shakespeare or Zebco line from old Wally World, $1 or $2 a spool. It has tons of awful memory. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody that wants to tie into some serious fish and not have a headache with the line twister, the memory. Great line, cheap money. I use it on all my big cat rods. The Trilene Big Game. I love that line for the money. Walmart does sell it. I haven't noticed any difference between the Walmart Big Game and the Bass Pro Shop or someplace like that. It's Big Game. Some people tell me that they notice it seems to be made cheaper, or it's more out of date. I haven't found that with the Big Game at Walmart. If you're getting bad spools of line, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe your Walmart or someplace doesn't sell it as quickly, and it's been sitting there for a long time. But in my experience, I haven't had that issue at all. on the catfish rods. I do go out and fish heavy cover lakes with some different types of debris on them. Fishing for big blues, big channel or big shovel heads. That Berkley big game has been a ticket. I fish 30-pound mainline, and then I tie it to a 20-pound big game in the clear for a leader. I do like the fluorescent, more neon green colored, because I can see that a little bit better. Whether I'm top fishing, bottom fishing, you know, on a deadline, whatever, that big game has held up. I haven't really gotten into braid too much with the big cats yet. I am thinking about it, at least for a main line, and I'm probably tying on a Copala more or fluorocarbon leader. Definitely not straight braid all the way through. I don't have many places where I really need straight braid. But that's about all I got today online. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.